What's up everybody, I'm Seth Fowler and today I'm reviewing the Nike Air Fear of God 1. Ever since PJ Tucker debuted the brand new Nike Air Fear of God 1 on court, people have been drooling over this shoe. Jerry Lorenzo's fashion brand Fear of God has hit astronomical levels of popularity over the last couple years, and of course whenever a brand like that collaborates with a brand like Nike, crazy things happen. Not just design-wise, also hype-wise, and the Nike Air Fear of God 1 is no different. Most Nike collaborations that drop are reimaginings of previous Nike silhouettes, but with the Fear of God collaboration, it looks like they gave Jerry Lorenzo free reign to design multiple sneakers himself. This shoe is actually a brand new Nike silhouette. And yes, there are little details that are inspired by sneakers like the Air Max 180 and the Air Huarache Light, but mostly, this is all new. And I've got to say, for a brand new silhouette, and not a normal silhouette, a sneaker boot basketball hybrid, this is a really good looking shoe. Jerry Lorenzo and Nike must have been working on this collaboration for a very long time because not only did they drop the Air Fear of God 1s, they also dropped another completely new silhouette, the Air Shoot-Arounds, and a reimagining of the Air Skylon 2s. But man, even though they were working on a lot of things at once, they really knocked the Air Fear of God 1s out of the park. Also, I've got to say that the quality of the packaging is really nice. You've got this matte orange box with the Fear of God branding in gloss. It's not actually a different color, it's just a gloss print on top of the orange. Each side of the box has another glossy accent. Some are just text, some have a Nike swoosh, and of course on the front you've got the size tag. And then another cool detail is that inside the box, each shoe comes individually wrapped in this sort of silver metallic plastic. You also get this pretty heavyweight black mesh bag, which I'm assuming you can use as a dust bag, but I'm not sure exactly what I'm going to use it for, if anything. So without further ado, let's take a closer look at the sneaker itself. Here it is, the Nike Air Fear of God 1. There are multiple different colorways of the Air Fear of God 1 releasing, as I'm sure you've already seen, and each colorway seems to use a different kind of material on a majority of the upper. Around the tip of the toe, you've got what looks like a dark piece of fuse overlay, but when you actually hit it with the flash, you find out that it's 3M, which is a nice touch. Just above that detail, a majority of the toe box is covered in this black, short plush suede. I'm not gonna lie, I smelled the suede, and I've gotta be honest, it smells great. Kinda just smells like suede. So, moving up from the toe box, the material changes from this suede to this really thick, premium feeling black mesh. And let's be honest, this mesh, it should feel premium because it's a $350 sneaker at retail. The mesh is actually attached to the suede with this black stitching detail that runs diagonal to the toe box. Starting at the top of the suede and running all the way up the middle of the sneaker, you've got this black nylon pull tab. It also acts as a lace loop and holds this thick black rope lace in place at the toe of the sneaker. As you continue up on the shoe, this black rope lace actually weaves through this one flywire eyelet, and then as you continue even farther up the shoe, the rope laces weave through this black TPU midfoot cage that I'll get to in a minute. As you can probably already tell, this sneaker doesn't have a separate tongue, so if you want to get into the sneaker, which you probably do, you use the zipper on the back instead. I don't know if you noticed how difficult that was for me to actually get the zipper open, but a lot of people's zippers have been breaking, and I think it's because the zipper is such a pain in the ass to use. It also might not be the highest quality zipper in the world, and when you compare it to other sneakers that have zippers like this, like the 750s, it's definitely not as beefy. Once you actually get the zipper open, you find this sort of padded heel pillar, which almost acts as a shoehorn. It's kind of a weird way to construct the sneaker. I've never seen anything like this before, but I've got to be honest, it does help you get your foot into the shoe, and it does give the back of the sneaker support, so I'm not mad at it. On the back of this padded shoehorn situation, you've got this black tag that says Air Fear of God. The sock liner of the shoe is covered in this black perforated suede material, and then rounding off the inside of the sneaker, you've got this insole with that same black perforated suede, and then you've got the numbers 0, 6, 10, 24, and 25 printed on the heel. I'm not actually sure of the significance behind these numbers, but if you guys know, make sure to drop a comment in the comment section down below because I'd love to know. As for sizing, the Nike Air Fear of God does seem to fit slightly big. I went true to size on my pair, and it definitely seems to be workable, but if I had the choice to go back and do it again, I'd probably go down half a size because there was a little bit of room around the toe. Continuing back on the sneaker, you get to that midfoot cage that I mentioned earlier. It comes in this black matte rubbery feeling plastic with these glossy edges that really make this detail stand out. Near the front of the cage, you've got the Nike swoosh embossed, which means it's coming off the material in gloss black. The overall shape of this midfoot cage is the Air Huarache Light inspired triangular teeth pattern, which I'm really drawn to and I think is actually my favorite part of this shoe. It's just such a bold detail, and even though it's the same color as the rest of the upper, upper, it just really stands out, and I love that about it. One thing that I will say that I don't love about this midfoot cage is that any part of the midfoot cage that's actually glued to the upper, you have some pretty bad glue marks around. I mean, it is what it is. Applying glue to sneakers is not an exact science, and especially on black materials, you can really see glue stand out, but it's still an imperfection that I wish they had been a little bit more careful about. As you move around to the back of the sneaker, the midfoot cage is once again glued to the upper, and once again, it looks messy. I'm also not a huge fan of the way that the midfoot cage is kind of just cut in half where the zipper is. I feel like that's a really unfinished detail, and I just don't really think it looks good. I really wish they had found a way to connect this, maybe to the rest of the heel, because as of right now, it kind of just looks like this sort of just finger flopping around that's not really doing anything. Just beneath that detail, you've got the Nike branding embossed in gloss black. As you continue down on the sneaker, you get to this really chunky and heavy, pretty beautifully sculpted off-white midsole. Even though at a glance this midsole looks pretty minimal, there are some details about it that I just really love. Starting things off with probably the most subtle detail, this chamfered edge around the toe. Definitely not a detail that jumps out at you, but one that really makes it look like the shoe was actually carefully designed, which I appreciate. Also, the fact that the midfoot cage is actually flush with the midsole and it creates this really smooth seam. I think that's a really nice touch. Right in the center of the midsole, you've got this embossed text that says Air Fear of God, SN 8329166, and those numbers are actually Jerry Lorenzo's grandfather's service numbers from the military, which I think is a really nice touch. Moving around to the back of the midsole, you've got this super subtle embossed Fear of God branding, which I absolutely love because it's so subtle, it's so minimal, and it's so quiet. It's just really nicely done. And as you've probably noticed, I've skipped over the most obvious detail on the midsole, this sort of rectangular cutout blue semi-translucent air unit. Now this sneaker is actually pretty incredible because it's got a dual layer Zoom Air setup. And the reason for that, other than the fact that it makes this shoe pretty comfortable, is that this sneaker is also designed to be able to be used on court, which is kind of crazy because it's a sneaker boot. If you pull out the insole from inside the shoe, you can actually see the full-length Zoom Air unit underneath your foot, and it's surprisingly beefy and very comfortable. I was kind of blown away by how comfortable the sneaker actually was underfoot. And then if that Zoom Air unit wasn't enough, you've also got one in the heel, which you can see through this translucent rubber. The rubber around this Air unit is surprisingly thick, so it's actually really tough to activate this Air unit, especially when you're pressing on the shoe from the outside. Honestly, I didn't notice the extra padding in the heel at all, but hey, I'm not going to be playing basketball in this shoe, so maybe that's what it takes. And then since we're already on the bottom of the shoe, let's talk about the outsole. The outsole of the shoe is made up of this circular traction pattern that sort of ripples off from the ball of your foot. Overall, I'm not surprised by how much I like this shoe. I like this shoe from the moment that I first saw it online, and the reason I like this shoe so much is just because of how good it looks. The added comfort from the extra Zoom Air unit is just kind of a bonus. So with that, we pretty much wrap up the review of the Nike Air Fear of God 1. Now I would love to know your thoughts on this sneaker and whether you'd like to grab a pair for yourself, so make sure to leave those comments in the comment section down below. And as always, thank you so much for watching. Please make sure to give this video a thumbs up if you liked it, subscribe down below if you haven't yet, and I'll see you all in the next one.